Gladstone has a devastating and maliciously unacknowledged Proud Boy problem. Whether it be groups of Proud Boy members stalking the streets and sexually harassing children, Proud Boy members slashing tires and breaking in windows, or Proud Boys in collaboration with the City Council of Gladstone to keep their fiscal violence against vulnerable community members a secret from the Oregon Department of Justice. The group has essentially free reign to terrorize the town and surrounding areas, but don't let me get ahead of myself. The Proud Boys, for those who don't know, are a neo-Nazi organization which calls for an authoritarian fascist state and ethnic cleansing of the Jewish population. Because of that, it is considered a hate gang by countless watch groups such as the Southern Poverty Law Center, Anti-Defamation League, and etc. Some countries, such as New Zealand and Canada, have even had to rightfully designate the group as a terrorist organization for their proneness to, or rather preference, for attacking civilians. As for today, we will go over the timeline of events that allowed the group to organize to the degree it has today in Gladstone, cover video, photo, and documental evidence that proves that these events were presented to, ignored, and even aided by the city government in an astounding case of political nepotism, as well as read a direct testimony from an underage boy who has experienced first-hand verbal and sexual harassments from Proud Boys in Gladstone since his time in middle school. The year is 2022, and Proud Boys have been active for the past 3 years, slowly gaining traction by organizing hate rallies, spreading anti-Semitic posters, and sexually berating underage boys and girls at their school grounds and in the streets. A concerned citizen, one Sierra Cook, according to an Oregonian report written by Catalina Gayton, reached out to the at-the-time mayor, Tammy Stemple, in mid-July. She contacted the mayor privately by email to inquire about if the city government planned to respond to another upcoming Proud Boy rally that she believed would include drinking and driving around town with firearms to harass locals. Just 30 minutes after sending the mayor that email, she was privately contacted by the mayor's sister, Debbie Lum, a Proud Boy member. In this message, Lum stated, "Oh, you silly, silly thing. Love your messages to the chief, haha. Go back to school and learn how to read. I know you are one of those woke vaginas. Well, actually, and misspelled your here, you're woke, but not awake." Her message was accompanied by an attachment of the Second Amendment, likely referring to Sierra's expression of worry for the drunken use of firearms in private to the mayor. The mayor did not respond or apologize to Sierra after that, and in the mayor's statement to the Oregonian, she claimed that it was the expectation of the internet age to receive harassment for contacting city council members. 1 month later, on August 24th, 2022, a local queer-owned coffee shop named Happy Rock Cafe hosted an LGBTQ celebration bingo event for their community. The Proud Boys organized in response to the family-friendly community event by staking out the only entrance to the building on all sides. The group began spewing hateful slurs and slanders indiscriminately at queers, allies, families, and children. These included faggot, groomers, pedophiles, and many other inflammatory, baseless statements. Alongside that, they physically intimidated anyone attempting to go inside the building. The owner, Lisa Halcomb, then attempted to call the police on the day of the bingo to ensure her customers' safety, whom were receiving the majority of the attacks. But police were then spotted agreeing with and protecting the Nazi group as it surrounded the business. She was forced to hire private security, but this did not deter the hate group, and they continued harassing the business and community until it was pressured by them to shut down, as well as forcibly bought out from under them, as we'll explore later. 1 more month has passed now since the bingo, and despite Gladstone police having aided the Proud Boys, Lisa Halcomb still attempted to reach out to the city again on September the 13th, 2022. That day, starting at 6:30 p.m., the city held its regular city council meetings, and specifically, as we'll talk about today, opened up its audience business section later on. During audience business, Lisa Halcomb opened with her own speech, directed to the city council members, which included the mayor, Tammy Stemple. The city council meeting record reports her speech as follows. Lisa Halcomb, from Happy Rock Coffee, said that citizens reached out to the city council regarding hate groups moving into town over a year ago. She was confused as why our city did not denounce hate groups, or at least make a statement about equality. Then she found out that the mayor's sister is part of the hate group, the Proud Boys. On August 24th, they had an event at Happy Rock Coffee. They had completely a full house, and they were surrounded by the mayor's sister's friends. There were more than 20 Proud Boys who called them all pedophiles and groomers. The police showed up and were dismissive. They allowed the Proud Boys to be there and hurled their hate speech and block walkways. One of the police officers was heard agreeing with Proud Boys that they were all pedophiles. Gladstone police allowed the Proud Boys to create a gauntlet of verbal abuse that people had to walk through in order to get to her shop. And she was under the impression that groups were not allowed to block walkways or impede business. The library had to close early because of their presence. Every person who attended bingo heard the shouting and saw the police in action. 1 week later, on the night of the 31st, her van was keyed and her tires were slashed. She has no clue what is going on with the investigation, but she's heard from people in her neighborhood who somehow knew more than she does. After such an overt display of bias and hate, she turned to the police log to see what they had said, and according to the Gladstone Police Department, they responded to a protest on the 400 block of Portland Avenue. There was no mention of any hate, and she was surprised to see that Gladstone PD claimed that there were 0 bias incidences in August after being observed by so many witnesses. The police department has an obligation to report bias incidents to the Oregon Department of Justice, which clearly did not happen in this case. Yesterday, the mayor's sister, Debbie Lum, hopped back onto the Happy Rock Facebook page and left a couple comments saying that Miss Malcolm broke her own windows and slashed her own tires in order to make Proud Boys look bad. She also went on to say that there was no video of the tire slashing. Where would she have gotten that information? She doesn't understand what Debbie is up to with her constant posting on her page, but she's not going to be bullied out of her own town. The police, city council, and mayor need to take all of this seriously, especially the mayor. That's what really gets her. Tammy Stemple won't be remembered as Gladstone's first female mayor, savior of libraries or preserver of parks. Mayor Stemple will be remembered for ushering in the hate group era of Gladstone. That will be her legacy. Despite Lisa's pleas to the city government, the Happy Rock Cafe did not receive real protection, and the Proud Boys did not stop harassing customers until the business was forcibly evicted when a Proud Boys endorsed wealthy woman bought the building rights out from the previous owner, which the Happy Rock Cafe had leased from. This woman, who bought out the building, would be responsible for the only 2 queer-owned businesses, Happy Rock Cafe and the nearby Tiger Fruit Smoothies, being shut down and replaced by her own Nazi-tolerant businesses, which she herself owns and runs to this day without violence from the Proud Boys. The obvious hypocrisy lies in the labeling of all non-heterosexuals and all non-cisgenders as pedophiles for having consensual relationships with other legal adults, all the while protecting or being a pedophile themselves and sexually harassing underage girls and boys trying to celebrate their rights. Even if you ignore the blatant use of force and coercion to destroy minority groups coming together, you can't ignore the blatant overstep of Deborah Lum and the outright protection given to Deborah Lum and her fascist companions by her sister, the mayor of the entire city. Just as Halcombe predicted, Tammy Stemple will go down as one of the worst mayors in the history of the city, the state, and the country. Yet the Tammy Stemple scandal is but the tip of the iceberg of Gladstone's Proud Boy problem. Since the group's notable first appearances in Gladstone circa 2019, they have organized patrol-like squads that drive around Gladstone and into surrounding cities on the outskirts of the Portland metro. These groups would at times be armed, engaged in drunkenly behavior, and on a consistent basis harassed school children, verbally and sexually, outside of their schools. This week, I received a direct testimonial from user @XavierPotterswheel, an ex-Gladstone resident still residing in the PDX area, about his childhood growing up in the center of the previously explored events and as a direct victim of the Proud Boy terror himself. I will now read the testimony in full, and you can find a transcription in the description. Living in/by Gladstone hasn't been and probably never will be safe. For years now, Proud Boys have terrorized children, adults, and businesses, encouraging others to not support their local businesses, keeping track on anyone who openly supports and advocates for minorities, posting anti-Semitic papers around town, and bombarding the One Queer coffee shop. They even showed up to the Oregon City Pride back in 2023. From 2019 to 2023, I had many first-hand experiences with the Proud Boys, including verbal harassments toward me, sexual harassments towards me, and sexual harassments towards other children under the age of 18, 8th graders to high schoolers. This is because Kraxberger Middle School and Gladstone High School are fairly close to the most active area where the Proud Boys meet. The former mayor of the town, Tammy Stemple, would cover up things that the Proud Boys did, which her sister, Deborah Lum, was an active participant of. The mayor's sister, a Proud Boy neo-Nazi, has instigated fights, spread false rumors, shared information she legally and socially should not have had access to, and targeted many inside the Gladstone community. Direct witnesses of the Happy Rock Cafe owner's Facebook reported that Deborah left multiple internalized / self-deprecating homophobic comments under her page, which made many assume, alongside her sexual harassments to local Gladstone women, that she might be closeted. At the August event, multiple people monitoring the neo-Nazi activity spotted multiple middle-aged men in the Proud Boy group ogling and shouting sexual obscenities and suggestive comments towards a visibly underage girl wearing shorts due to the weather. This, combined with other personal experiences of sexual harassment starting in middle school by Proud Boy groups, caused many in my community to fear being outside or even around popular parts of town due to the constant patrol. In general, they used to meet at a bar called Happy's that was located in the middle of town, but now they mainly go to High Rocks Bar by High Rocks, a rock cliff area where people go to swim along Clackamas River, which is scary considering that many non-Proud Boys, even from outside Gladstone, also go to said bar. I don't know what else to really add. I just want people to be aware and stay safe. The ex-mayor's sister does not live in the Gladstone community anymore, having moved to Estacada, but is still a practicing Proud Boy, and the group as a whole that they protected is still acting in the area to the same degree they allowed. To reach a synthesis, what can we do about this horrible course of events? To start, residents of Gladstone can share this information to those unaware locally, and work together to install a mayor and council that will protect their streets from the terrorizing neo-Nazis. But that's only potential policy on paper, and real social change cannot come from above unless profitable. So to take things further, residents could take attention to boycotting businesses that regularly serve Proud Boy groups, such as the High Rocks Bar and the Brew. Residents could also take a note out of the Long Island book with the ICE federal fascists, and organize watch groups to notify community members when a group enters the area to harass locals, and launch counter-protests to push them out of town. Whether you live in Gladstone, downtown Portland, or even outside of Oregon, you can send letters, emails, phone calls, and more to the Oregon Department of Justice to report the underreported bias cases. You can even call the new mayor and ask about his current stance on Tammy Stemple. The truth is that the working people are always stronger together than the centralized state abuse or fascist takeovers. Don't take the state of things as a sign that things will never improve, but instead work together to make changes from the bottom up. Let their anti-intellectual racism and thug-like oppression inspire you to join hand in hand and crush the fascist serpent as one.